Have you ever wondered what medical spas are really looking for when they hire, or what separates a good technician from one who builds a long, successful career? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on what medical spas actually look for when hiring and what really determines long term success in this industry. Because it's not just certifications, it's not just about learning new treatments. There's a lot more happening behind the scenes. Hi, welcome back to Beauty Babble. I'm Suzanne Sedesco, certified esthetician, spa owner, former, and today educating and mentoring many professionals near and far. Today, we're going to have an open, honest conversation about careers in the medical aesthetics and what it really takes to succeed in the medical spa environment. So today, you can see that we have Kayla Coburn joining us today. Kayla's Education and Support Manager at Canada MedLaser and Director of the CML Academy. With more than 12 years of experience in medical aesthetics, Kayla has trained future technicians, supported clinic teams, and helped professionals build successful careers in one of the fastest growing areas of our industry. Today, we're diving into two important conversations in the medical aesthetics that every esthetician, whether you're new, a student, new graduate, or experienced professional, I think you're going to benefit from this conversation today. So, Kayla, welcome to Beauty Babble. And I would love it if you could just start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your background and how
Yeah,
you got into it.
absolutely. Thank you for having me. So, I've been in the industry about 12 years or so now. I was about 16 when I got diagnosed with rosacea, and that kind of really put my love for skin into gear. I first went to school for makeup to learn how to cover it, and then very quickly realized why cover it when I could just help myself. And I decided very quickly after to switch into medical aesthetics. I've been in this field ever since, continuing to learning, continue to grow, and I still love it.
That's awesome. Um, so I guess when you look back, is I know we have a few things we met before and we talked about kind of what your passion and my passion in this industry and blending it together. Um, what changed the most for you when you moved from working like in that side of the aesthetics and then started in the medical? Do you find as you started working with professionals and supporting them?
It's a little bit different in terms of what you do, but it's really gratifying to help someone succeed, whether that be helping their business grow or even just helping a client regain their confidence when something has been lost. It's really rewarding to help people and see the goal or the dream that they've wanted to achieve actually come to fruition.
Excellent. Um, Another thing I know, one big thing we chatted about was is it's more than a certification working in a medical spa. So I thought maybe we could just dive in a little bit here to, what are clinics looking for in someone, like to have them job ready? Like how do they become ready for a medical spa?
Yeah. I think when everyone first starts off in the industry, your first thing is, oh my gosh, I don't want to hurt anyone. And I find that's what beginner technicians are so focused on, which absolutely we never want to hurt anyone, but you're missing out on the critical component of the job, which is dialogue. It's talking to people, explaining your treatments to people, right? You don't master something until you can take something super complex and then turn it into something that everyone can understand. And I think that's one thing that a lot of technicians miss is their technical technique might be great, but they might not have the dialogue skills or the social skills to get them even farther.
And that like break that down, that's the conversations and the consultation kind of thing and working with the clients in front of you.
Absolutely. Even in a treatment room, right? Like having the dialogue to say, okay, I'm going to cleanse your face now. I'm going to be putting on a vitamin C, which does this, this, and this for you. We don't want to just be putting on a cream and, okay, there we go, all done. There's no dialogue, there's no trust, there's no
Mhm.
bonding with the client whatsoever, right? You don't want to feel like your client's coming to the dentist. Nobody wants to go to the dentist. You want your client to have fun and come in to see you.
Right. It's that rapport. I'm trying to start that conversation and build. I don't like to say friendships because it's not
Yeah,
technically what it is, but it's your friendship with your client in a sense, not your friends that you go out for coffee with. Is that
absolutely.
kind of the way to look at it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and so more than just graduating from a program or a certification, like I think a lot of times technicians feel that they have the certificate from a medical school, we'll say,
Mhm.
or earn it. And that's great accomplishments. I'm not saying it's not a good thing. It's the best thing you could do is do a certification, yes, at a reputable school. But then they're still, not ready. So what about like interviews? What do you think stands out during an interview?
During an interview, again, I think it's a lot of how you speak. Like, can you explain laser hair removal clearly to me in a way that all of my clients can understand? Right? I think, especially when we start off out of school, we've just learned all these brand new medical terms and we want to use them, which, like, don't get me wrong, I love the big medical terms, but your client is not going to be understanding that, right? So,
Mhm.
how you talk during this interview, that you're able to talk confidently, that's the first thing that they're looking at because they're not watching you do a treatment right off the bat. They're watching how your personality is, how you're going to bond with these people that's sitting in your chair because your client needs to trust you as well. You need to have that air, that trustworthy air about you that you have your client no matter what happens.
Right. Yeah. So it's it's kind of like making someone memorable. Like
Hmm.
how do you make yourself as a technician memorable to
Hmm.
either who's interviewing you or the clients, right? So they remember
Absolutely.
who you are. That's a good one. Um, what do you think you find surprises new graduates the most?
I think what surprises new graduates the most is the amount of sales that we do. One, because it medical esthetician can be a sales heavy position. And I think a lot of girls go into the industry, thinking it's going to be sunshine and rainbows sometimes. And it isn't always doing nice facials all day. Sometimes you're booked back to back. You're running around like a chicken with your head cut off. This industry is a lot of hard work sometimes, sleepless nights, worrying about clients when you go home, thinking about this, thinking about that. It can be a little bit more intimidating, I think, than what they're anticipating.
So you're saying to clarify that when you say sales, there are a lot of medical spas that project that on the technician that you have to do so much in services a month or weeks or whatever that may be, or
Correct.
even product sales.
Even product sales,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because I think
Mhm.
that's something a lot of schools miss out on is prepping the students for that kind of environment, that kind of dialogue. I can even talk about when I was in school that sales wasn't really something that we covered. We didn't talk about how to perform a consultation. So when you're showing up to these interviews, you're starting that new job, you're kind of having to figure it out on the fly.
Yeah, it's really understanding what the consultation is, not just skin analysis of it, right? Or the
Exactly.
background and product. It's really that beginning of starting to figure out what it is that they're looking for and how am I going to be memorable to that client, right? You're
Exactly.
building that rapport and that trust. So it really comes down to that clinical thinking, that those consultation skills you mentioned,
Mhm.
confidence
Huge.
and communication, right?
100%.
Yeah. Is there anything else you would tell them, a new technician or someone new trying to, they've been working, but they keep trying to get into the medical industry?
Mhm.
And I've seen that they've been an esthetician for years, working, but not in the medical environment, but they went to school for it. What advice would you give them? What do you think?
I wouldn't give them advice to either seek additional training, maybe something that's a little bit more advanced. Another thing is really look at the devices in your demographic, your general area. One thing that may hold you back is you may have been trained on an out of date or older device that clinics just aren't using anymore. And you may need to, re-up that certification, get something a little bit more present in the industry even
Mm-hmm.
like going to sales trainings, learning about that, working on those kind of workshops, those are great ideas to just build those skills.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing too is I know there's not as many of the shows anymore. they're coming back a little bit,
Hmm.
but I think staying updated because a lot of the devices are out there then, so you're going to see them. So
Yeah,
that constant learning, whether it's a YouTube or you can find updated stuff out there, right? And I think that's key
absolutely.
to those, continuing education and like you said, staying on top of it. And you only learned one machine. I think that's a good one to talk about too, because I've had that where people are asking for advice and they say, "But I only learned that machine." And it's like, but the theory is there. You learn the theory, then you just need to then you'll learn the equipment you're working with. So you're not everyone's going to have this one type of device. And plus we know how much that changes. They're coming out with new stuff all the time. So I think that's another side of it. And that can just be the learning type of person that they're very fixed on that one specific. And then the confidence goes away when they're like, oh my God, I don't know this machine. I don't know what to do.
A
That's
hundred
okay. That's a
percent.
good question. And that's a good statement to say. Let's learn the machine, but keep your knowledge there, right?
Hmm. I think it's because too, a lot of the machines aren't standard, right? So joules will range depending on what you're using. And when you're coming out of school and you've been using 60 joules for your laser hair removal, and now all of a sudden you're using 10 joules with another machine, people get confused.
For
And it's
sure.
not
Mhm.
talked about enough that these devices are not standardized, right? Every machine you touch will work different on the inside.
Right. And then another thing is to make sure that they are actually FDA approved, right? That's
FDA
a
and Health
that's a
Canada, absolutely.
yes, exactly. Because I know some people that will order online, we'll say, and just because you can get it online and it might even get through the border, it's one little machine. It might not be flagged. They're probably looking at other bigger things that
Mhm.
doesn't make it okay to use it. You need to check with your insurance company to make sure that you're able to use it. Because if something goes wrong, whatever it may be, things happen, but will you be covered? Because then,
Exactly.
other things happen, right? So let's talk about that, the CML Academy. So how does your training prepare a student differently? So are they already certified and then come in to learn that, or are you certifying them as well?
We are certifying them. So essentially, the course is split up to make it a little bit easier. It is all of your theory is done online. So you can do this at your own pace. I like this model personally because like we talk about, people have shorter attention spans now. They're not going to sit through 10 hours of slideshows. This way, you could break it up 2 hours a night, the
Mhm,
best way that you're going to learn, right? So it sets you up for
mhm,
success. And then we do our in-person training. What kind of makes us a little bit different is we also supply the models for you. So you're working on real clients. You don't have to go around looking. And then you're having real conversations with these models. So I ask my students, talk about their skin concerns, educate them on their skin concerns, explain what we're going to be doing today. That needs to be built into the protocol, right? It's not just show
mhm.
up, wash the face, tone the face. We're having dialogue each step that we're doing that. And then we also cover how to like perform a professional consultation, how to explain complex services like RF microneedling or chemical peels, and dumbing them down into a way that anyone can understand them.
Yeah, and then they will still want it done.
Yes,
Sometimes it's too much, like you said. That's so true.
exactly.
So when you think about your strongest technicians, the ones that like they've got this right away and they're successful, they're growing along. What qualities do you see in them? And what do they have anything in common?
Yeah, I would say they all have tenacity for sure. They do not give up, right? That's one thing I love about a lot of medical estheticians is, we go through a lot. Sometimes we get thrown on the ground and we get dusted right back off. We get right back up. We go perform our treatments. Tenacity, they're smart. They have those clinical thinking skills where they can think 3, 6, 9 months ahead of a client's journey and pairing multiple different treatments together to create that treatment transformation. It's not just a one service or one series of services will fix an issue. It might have to be we combine this and then chemical peels and then IPL and then whatever it may be. You have to create a whole plan. And I think those are the technicians that do the best is they have that forethought to think of an entire plan and then put it into action.
Now I know, and I love that because it's so accurate. Being able to foresee 8, 9 months down the road and trust your training and your equipment that you have to get there.
Hmm.
I know it comes with time and experience for sure, but do you think there's something there? Like I think that adaptability, be able to move. What do you think? I think that's the hardest thing for people when they start, especially
Hmm.
it's overwhelming to think that far. And a lot of folks today are very step by step. What
Hmm.
advice could you give them to help them to beyond that step A, step B, step C? What about A to F and then G? Come back to B. You know what I mean? Like, is there any
Yeah.
advice you could give people like that?
My best advice is to kind of think about it like you're a personal trainer. You're setting up your clients' workout routine, their diet, right? Their treatment routine and their skincare. You're setting them up because you're not going to lose weight in 2 months. You're going to lose weight in 8 to 9 months to a year from now, right? It's all a process. So when it comes down to it, I would say your best thing is to really kind of think about it like a puzzle. Put the pieces together. What are the client's biggest concerns right away? Is it pigmentation? Tackle the pigmentation first, right? Go from there. Once the pigmentation is done, maybe we're going to do additional anti-aging now. Kind of thinking about it in steps to target concerns is a great way to target that. And it also doesn't overwhelm the client.
Right. Yeah. So kind of could be even have your top, 1, 2, 3 with your client, pigmentation,
Mhm.
wrinkles, or, the elasticity of the skin, let's just say, okay, well, I think let's start with your first concern, pigmentation. And then you got time as a technician to start thinking in the future. Okay, how am I going to bring this part B and part C into this play? And remember that. That's the other thing I
Mhm.
find is they've forgotten all about that. And then the client's like, well, you're still doing that. What about this? Because then they're surprised you were actually listening. That, oh, so remember with this, I think it's time we can start incorporating this next treatment when I see you next time, or series, or whatever it may be. Do you think you're ready for that now? Are you happy with what you see so far? We can move ahead or start
Mhm.
implementing in. So you're still having um, that adaptability with your client, so your client can still feel like they're getting the most out of their treatments, and they're still making some decisions on their own as well. And you're just there with them, like you said, that personal trainer coaching them on and keep going with it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone's listening today and considering a career in medical aesthetics, a lot of them, like you said, you started in makeup, evolved into the aesthetics and medical aesthetics. What's one piece of advice you would give them before they even start applying for the jobs side of it?
Before you start applying for jobs, I would make sure that one, you do a lot of like role playing prep, right? So having your dialogue down, that you can explain the services confidently that you know of, right? Even if it's laser hair removal, you can apply that theory to any machine that you're using virtually, right? Making sure you have the dialogue, also making sure that you have those reminders of the theory. You also have that good understanding of this job will be a sales position. I may be expected to perform these consultations, and having that mental talk to yourself that you're ready for. Right? A big thing as well is to not give up and to keep learning. 100% don't stop learning once you get out of school. We have to keep learning. The medical aesthetics industry changes, information is updated. We can't still be doing the same things that we did 15 years ago because now science has improved. We always need to keep learning. That's the biggest takeaway.
For sure. I love that. Is to keep learning.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing I'm sure that you can appreciate is the social media versus reality. Social media creates this very strong expectation of our aesthetics treatments. And what do you wish um, more clients or even new professionals, newer and some that have been in it for a little while, would understand about what actually is realistic?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is I think social media has completely warped what is realistic now with glass skin, for example. That is completely unrealistic, especially if you're a woman, the skin is cyclical. Are you premenstrual? Are you ovulating? Are you menopause? This will impact your skin. The skin will change week to week based on the weather, your hormones, what products you're using. It's an unrealistic expectation to think you'll have glass skin for more than a couple of days, right? Those
Mhm.
things like filters have changed it. Photoshop has changed what we see. And I think one of the best things that any technician or anyone in the industry can do is have that realistic conversation with your client, right? Because especially if we're
Mhm.
talking anti-aging, a lot of people come in and they pull all their skin back and they're like, I want to look like this when I'm done. And that is plastic surgery. So it's having that conversation like, look, what you're looking for is actually surgery. And if that's what you want to go for, 100%, I recommend that you do that. If you're looking to do this non-surgical, this is what I can help you achieve, right? And don't sugarcoat it either. Give them realistic. It's always better to, under promise and over deliver than the opposite way around.
Well, I think you said it like at the beginning when you mentioned personal trainer, right? That's a
Mhm.
process that takes time. Or you can go get liposuction.
A hundred
You know,
percent,
it's the
right?
same thing. It's not wrong. Neither one's right or wrong. They just got to be honest to what that person wants, especially out of expectations. And I think today we're just not patient as a society anymore. We expect it immediate results. And again, unfortunately, a little bit like you said with social media and the expectations are set up against us in this industry. There's so much pressure on being perfect at it and these results. There's a lot more truth bombs coming out though, and I'm loving
Mhm.
that. That's another conversation we'll get into, I guess. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about laser, chemical peels, medical facials, for example, combination treatments that you mentioned. Um, what can they how can they be realistic for that overall expectation so it's not unrealistic? I know you kind of said it's a puzzle. Can you
Mhm.
draw on that a little bit more with your own experience that you've had?
Yeah, like especially when we're talking unrealistic expectations, a great example is your melasma patient, right? So someone who's dealing with a chronic condition, sometimes even acne is chronic, right? Absolutely. And a lot of people don't realize that and they're like, "Well, why isn't my acne going away?" You are acne prone. This is a battle that you will fight forever, right? It's just maintaining the skin. Um, but your patients, like you can see great results. It's just you have to spell it out to them, right? Like going back to your melasma patient, they're not going to get great pigment clearance if we don't use a tyrosinase inhibitor and turn off the melanocyte to actually make pigmentation. Otherwise, I'm just trying to empty out a bathtub that the tap is still on. I'm not going to see those results. So that's where we also have that conversation with the patient. Like, if this is what you're looking to achieve, we must do this, and then you do this at home. We work together, right? Personal
Mm-hmm.
trainer. What you eat, what I tell you to work out, that's how this is going to get done.
And we meet so often,
Yeah,
right? Do some new things. Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
You know, I love the personal trainer analogy. I use it often.
Me too.
Or like a dentist, right? It's like you can't expect them to go through all of those treatments they do on you and check on you and get you all ready and healthy again. And then you go home and then you don't follow the protocol what the dentist said. Well, you're just right back to where you were. So you can't
Exactly.
expect to maintain, the clean teeth and there's a lot of ways that I think as professionals you can use other people's analogies. Like just use them. It's okay because they're
Yeah.
real. It's true, right?
Yeah, and
Um,
analogies are super powerful in this industry,
yeah,
especially to help people understand that, the skin is an organ. It's going to do things that it wants to do.
exactly. So now another thing that I know on social media, I'm not against social media. I might sound like it sometimes. I'm really not, but it's just not enough information given sometimes. So this next one I have is one thing people often forget is that the skin follows the biology. So not social media timelines. And I think that's a big part that we need to hone in on with our clients. So can you explain? And I think what it is why healing and results simply can't be rushed.
Right. the biggest thing is when we look at even anti-aging, right? Like there's no way in a biological process that I can make your collagen and elastin grow any faster. That's going to take time. Just like when we go to the gym, we're looking to build muscle. Your muscle's not going to appear the next day. It can take 8 to 12 weeks for that muscle to grow. And that's the same thing with the skin, right? It has to
Mhm.
cycle through, things have to be made, even lymphatic drainage has to be done, things need to be taken out. It's a whole system that works together. And things are not going to happen at the drop of a hat. Unfortunately, I
Mhm.
wish they would, but they do not.
Mhm.
And we really have to explain that to our client. It's like, even if I drink a glass of water, it's going to take time for that water to make it through my system and at the end of the day be excreted and everything. The skin has to follow that same system.
Mhm. I think too, you also covered on that side of it is helping that conversation, the dialogue you have with your clients every time that
Hmm.
you're with them, and that importance of the consultation, realistic expectations you also mentioned too, right? And that's building that long-term trust with the client. And then I think it also builds your own confidence as a professional, because now you're working with people and you're seeing these results are going to happen. And then you can also build a puzzle by using someone else's puzzle that you learn from. And I
Hmm.
think that's the disconnect that happens sometimes. We're so focused on just what's in front of us that we forget this protocol could actually work for Samantha. It's like, oh my God, I could do that with her. That might actually do the same thing. So again, it's that critical thinking. And I think it's a lot sometimes.
Hmm.
I mean, like you said, at the end of the day, exhaustion can happen, especially when you're really busy because your
Yeah.
brain is going so much, right? But to get there, you just have to baby step and build slowly. But like you said, with the consultation, setting up the realistic goals and honest and an actual plan and forecasting. I think that's the hardest part is being able to forecast, but it takes time. And I think you have to trust what you learned. If they tell, you're learning a machine, for example, and they say laser hair removal, if you do this every 4 to 6 weeks and you do this and this treatment, the hair is going to come back slower and slower to the point where most of it will be gone. You have to trust that that's what it is because that's the knowledge behind it, just because they
Hmm.
haven't seen it yet. And I think that's the hard part for new people in the industry is seeing it because they haven't had a chance to see a long-term 3 months, 6 months to a year, that whole
Hmm.
thing, that whole process, or sometimes we forget all about it and don't use that critical information that we gained from that client too, right?
Hmm. It's hard when you're first starting to see the end turn game, right? Like the long term, what the client is going to look like. I think one of the best things to do is also get treatments done on yourself. Experience a long-term treatment on yourself, what that looks like commitment wise, the entire client journey. You should experience with at least one service once to
Mm-hmm.
walk yourself through from a client's perspective, right? Because they're going to be looking at their skin every day in the mirror and be like, my pigmentation is still here. What do you mean? I'm seeing no results because you're looking at it every day, right? So
Yeah.
it's important to step into the client's shoes.
Especially when you can. Like, I know some things you're not going to be able to, let's say it's a
100%.
chemical peel and, deep, scarring or anything like that. I understand that, but to maybe talk to a technician that's working with a client like that already. So if you're working with other people, if you're alone, it's hard because you need to find your team, your groups of people that you can learn from, or like you said, continuing education, that could be one of them. You could follow someone else's treatment, like watching them through their clients' progress. And now that's endless. Whereas before, I'm going back a long time ago, you had to physically go to these workshops to see anything. It
Yeah.
it really wasn't out there the way it is today, right? And I think it's all in their hands. And I guess it maybe it's just too much overwhelming information can be too, which I understand that too. Yeah, so I think the other thing we nailed pretty good is trusting, I love that part about this podcast is really about a conversation, honest conversations, and building trust and learning with each other in this industry. We're only going to grow this industry at a higher standard if we keep learning with each other and growing. So I'm so glad that you came on today, and shared your information and your wisdom, and that you still are learning after all these years. And then you're sharing that to your students and to your staff, and keep moving, because that is one of the most valuable things I think in this industry. Yeah. And something for fun here before we finish up is like a rapid fire thing, Kayla, if you're up for it. So before we wrap up, a couple of questions for you. So coffee or tea?
Coffee, 100%.
Me too. One treatment you think is still underrated?
Plus 90 vaginal rejuvenation. I think it is the most groundbreaking treatment we have in the industry right now.
Oh, I think I want a part two on that one. Okay, one skincare myth you wish would disappear forever.
I wish the myth that when you shave your hair, it grows back thicker and darker would disappear. 100%.
Sounds like a part three. Just kidding. What quality every technician should have?
Empathy. You need to be empathetic into your client's struggles.
One piece of advice for every esthetician listening today.
We're going to sound like a broken record, but continue learning. Don't stop. Perfect your craft, master your craft. Like I said earlier, you haven't mastered something until you can take it from being super complex to dumbing it down to anyone can understand that. Once you've mastered that, the rest feels so much easier.
Wonderful. Kayla, thank you so much for joining us today and taking time out of your busy schedule and sharing your knowledge and experience. I think our listeners gained a lot of information. I know I learned a few things as well. And for anyone listening out there today, remember your education doesn't end when you graduate, as we're repeating ourselves, right? It's so important to keep going. Every client, every consultation, every continuing education opportunity is another step in becoming the professional you aspire to be. Thank you for joining us today on Beauty Babble. And if you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe and like and share with your friends out there. And stay curious, keep learning, and we'll see you next time on Beauty Babble.